Has been anything but uneventful, and at the same time, it also has been very uneventful. But so much so that this one year feels like an entire decade of bizarre and depressing world history crammed into one year. Because of this, certain things that feel like they happened relatively recently actually transpired many years ago. Observe Disney's Big Hero 6 was released to theaters in November of 2014. That's right, over half a decade ago. Yet, if you told me to list the most recent Disney movies, I'd probably say Big Hero 6 almost right away. Despite there being plenty of films released since then, I never really saw Big Hero 6 all the way through until this year in high school, which may sound weird, but my study hall teacher plays a movie every day, and the last one she showed before we had to go full-on distance learning again was Big Hero 6. And I figured it's been a while since I did a movie review for this channel. Actually, it's been over a year. So I chose Big Hero 6 because I just saw it. So, and I really enjoyed it. So, perfect movie to do a review of, right? Now, to do a quick little refresher of how I do movie reviews, how I review movies, I split the review into three parts: the story, the characters, and the overall quality. Overall quality being like writing, music, effects, cinematography. For this case, I'll be focusing on animation more instead of effects and cinematography. And then I rank each section on a scale of 1 to 5, and then combine all three scores to make a total score out of 15. So let's get into it. It's important to note the setting of this movie. It takes place in a reimagination of San Francisco called San Fransokyo, and I actually love how they don't ever mention what year it is, so it could either be a fictional city, like a completely fictional city, just playing off of the name of San Francisco, or it actually is San Francisco, but over time Japanese culture became an even bigger part of the massive city. The story follows Hiro Hamada, a gifted teenager who, instead of considering college opportunities, has decided to enter the realm of illegal bot fighting, so he's basically will hunting on a very crazy gap year. But finally, his older and more successful brother Tadashi gets him interested in a science-based college, the one Tadashi himself is actually attending. He takes him to his lab to meet his four nerdy friends who will play a pivotal role in the story later on. Hiro decides to take a swing at enrolling, but in order to get in, he must design an invention that the professor who runs the college likes. He comes up with this cool idea about nanobots that can be controlled by your mind. Everyone loves it, and he's approached by two people, Professor Robert Callahan and Alistair Cray. Callahan wants Hiro to enroll, but Cray wants to buy the rights to his invention, and Hiro ends up taking Callahan's scholarship. Mere minutes after making this deal, the college mysteriously goes up in flames and explodes, killing both Callahan and Hiro's brother Tadashi. After his death, Hiro is left with a robot designed by Tadashi called Baymax, which is supposed to be a personal healthcare assistant. They bond, and once they figure out that Hiro's microbots were stolen by a mysterious masked thief, they begin to suspect that Professor Callahan and Tadashi's death were foul play. Hiro then programs Baymax to fight and equips him with weapons to essentially make him a crime-fighting death bot. This is where Tadashi's four laboratory friends meet up with Hiro and Baymax, and they also become superheroes of themselves. Using their new powers, they locate a small, secluded island off the coast of San Fransokyo, and once they get inside, they discover that it's an abandoned Cray tech laboratory where many years before an incident involving a portal into an unknown void resulted in the death of a pilot. It's here that Hiro discovers that the pilot was actually Callahan's daughter, and that he snapped at Cray once she died. Then the masked thief from before attacks the Six and finally reveals himself. Hiro, along with everyone else, suspects that it's Cray, but in a shocking twist, it's revealed that it's the supposedly deceased Robert Callahan. He killed Tadashi and stole the microbots as a part of a master plan to seek revenge on Cray. Callahan then escapes to finally kill Cray, while Hiro and his friends are hot on his trail. Callahan finds a way to reconstruct the portal and uses it to destroy Cray's laboratory, and then attempts to throw Cray into the portal when then the Big Hero 6 finally step in. They stop Callahan and apprehend him, but before they celebrate, Baymax discovers that Callahan's daughter is in fact still alive and inside the void. Hiro and Baymax enter the portal and save his daughter, but Baymax doesn't make it back, to everyone's sadness. Callahan is arrested and his daughter receives proper medical attention, and it ends sort of happily ever after-ish. Overall, I love the story. It's original and Disney's first true swing at the superhero genre. It's also not surprising that this movie was superhero themed, considering it was made at the height of Disney's purchasing of Marvel, and they did a really great job with it. One thing I want to point out is how a lot of Disney movies have the main character be raised by a single parent or maybe lose a parent, and sure, this applies here with Hiro and Tadashi's aunt Cass being the main parental unit, but the relationship between her and Hiro is perfect because she obviously isn't a biological mother, and she still feels like an aunt figure, so it makes this trope a lot more realistic feeling. One complaint I do have is that Callahan sort of gets screwed over in the end, and likewise Cray sorts of fades away once Callahan is apprehended. And I'll talk more about that point in the character section of the review. Definitely one of the best original stories Disney has done in some time, with very complex emotional ties between all the characters, making it one of Disney's more disturbing animated films. Geez, where do I even begin? I mean, obviously there's Hiro, the main character. He fits very well to the hero's journey. No pun intended. Maybe pun intended. The plot line structure almost every movie seems to follow these days. He's the lazy, irresponsible genius stereotype, which works well because that's a relatively underused trope. He defied the expectations set early on in the film and proved to the audience that he can really do anything with his mind. Then there's Tadashi, who at the first time I saw this movie, his death really caught me off guard, and in my opinion is more sad than Mufasa's death in The Lion King, which some people will definitely fight me on that, and I'm not afraid to face it. Despite how I think he died way too early in the film, I will acknowledge that his death was pivotal to the plot development, because if Tadashi didn't die trying to save Callahan, there would be no connection between the thief who stole his bots and the loss of Tadashi that hypothetically wouldn't happen. Also, if Tadashi lived, Baymax would still be in his office at college, and Hiro wouldn't even have a partner to catch the thief that stole his bots. Moving on to Aunt Cass, who I already kind of covered in the story portion. She's an adequate parental figure. Not necessarily special in any way, but come on, she's a parent in a Disney movie. They're a dime a dozen, and often they don't even live to see the end of their movie. Now, Baymax is by far the most popular character in the film, and for good reason. His monotone voice delivers lines that shouldn't be funny, but are. And there are several functions that, he was programmed to have, that play into the story in either a serious or comedic way. Personally, I love the scene when he keeps asking Hiro to rate his pain for every time something hits him. He just keeps repeating that over and over again because things keep falling on him. Baymax does sort of Baymax sort of poses as Hiro's coping mechanism for losing Tadashi. Interactions throughout the movie prove this, but he's also his new brotherly figure, making it all the more heartbreaking when Baymax dies at the end. Now, it is important to point out that at the end, Hiro finds the programming chip is still intact and rebuilds Baymax. And this really bothers me for several reasons. For one, is that even the same Baymax? Sure, he has the same programming chip, but does he have any recollection of the things he and Hiro did? I mean, I don't know how robots work, so maybe he does. But also, look at look at the Iron Giant as a prime example of how to tackle a scene like this. The giant is destroyed at the end, but the final shot suggests that he might be able to rebuild himself. Same thing with the final scene in Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully reopen Boo's room, and it's suggested that they reunite. But Hiro just straight up revives and what could possibly be only a decoy of Baymax and brings him into an embrace, all while the audience watches. And that's not really, if you ask me, that wasn't supposed to be something the audience should have seen. That should have been suggested. That should have been that was the final shot was hinting, and that would have opened it up for a sequel. They could still do a sequel. They're, I think, supposed to have a sequel, and it got canceled, which is kind of sad. Anyways, next, there's the superheroes / Tadashi's friends. First, there's Go-Go, the goth nerd, who invented a faster bike using electromagnetic suspension. I hope I'm getting that correct. Then there's Honey Lemon, who uses a mixture of random chemicals to make elephant toothpaste. I don't know if that's a superpower, but I bet Mark Rober is probably drooling right now, though. Next is Wasabi, this dude is the funniest character in the whole movie. His invention of a laser field is also pretty sweet, and he definitely is the best at implementing his invention into his superhero identity. He does it way better than the others do. Finally, there's Fred, who half the time I wonder why he's there. He's the comic relief, dumb, dropout, worthless, probably homeless trope, but wait a minute, he lives in a mansion? He by far is the most useless character because even though he has his funny moments, everyone else is pretty funny without him as well. Also, I should add that little bit he has with, like, not washing his underwear. That's just hella gross, man. Like, But now we move on to the two villains, which this is definitely, like, the most complex part of the character's, like, portion. Professor Robert Callahan and Alistair Cray. Starting with Callahan, he's one of many twist villains in Disney movies. Personally, though, he's probably my favorite after watching this movie. But this time, though, his backstory is so sad that I couldn't help but to sympathize with him, and because of that, I didn't really see what he was doing as wrong. For an example, look at the Death Wish movies, a saga of hilariously campy movies about an elderly man who keeps losing his loved ones and out of vengeance just starts shooting random criminals. He's the good guy in those movies, so why isn't Callahan? He's avenging his lost daughter who supposedly died at the hands of a crooked scientist. Obviously, he still committed crimes punishable by law, and it makes sense that he was arrested at the end, but Cray should have been too. And in that final scene, he was painted as the poor little boy that was picked on by the twist villain. Now, that being said, Cray wasn't present enough in the storyline to be the villain either. He was on screen for like a total of 20 seconds before Tadashi dies, and doesn't really come back until the end. And even when the audience, and just about everyone else in the movie, suspects that the masked thief is Cray, retrospectively, it still feels like even if he was the thief, he'd still not be as active in the plot line. In conclusion, there was the underdog you just love to root for, the brother figure who died too soon, but him being blown up was crucial to the story, the average stepmother figure, a comedically genius robot, two super cool superheroes, two worthless superheroes, a villain that should have been painted more as a hero, and a secondary villain who wasn't present enough in this current story to even be seen as a villain. There are a few points I want to get to with overall quality, but first I want to talk about the animation. Was it revolutionary for when the movie was released? Yeah, but now it's 2020 and even I can tell that the animation has aged just a bit. Now, this isn't me, this is just me nitpicking, and the movie's still very easy on the eyes. I personally love how they animated the Microbots and, like, the superhero costumes, gadgets, and then also how they gave Baymax a really simplistic design. I always appreciated that, even when I was little. And the writing is great, too, even if a few of the jokes are kind of below-the-belt potty humor. I mean, like I said, with the weird underwear thing.
I haven't done laundry in 6 months. One pair lasts me 4 days. I go front, I go back, I go inside out, then I go front and back. Wow. Bruh.
One thing that I did cringe at, though, was how in the beginning when Hiro basically reminds Tadashi that their parents are dead, I know I know that was just a way to tell the audience their given situation, a way to ease the audience into what they're going through, what they've been through, but it didn't feel natural at all, and it kind of felt out of place, and it was at one of those moments when I was really like, oh, wait a minute, this is a movie, and everything's unrealistic. Ironically, I don't know why, like, superheroes and robots and all that stuff didn't tip off that it was just a movie. I don't understand myself sometimes. Besides that, it's some of the greatest spiritual motifs in any movie I've ever seen, which I know that's like a really serious point to make, but it's true. Especially with the ways that Baymax suggests Hiro cope with the loss of Tadashi and how that carries in throughout the movie. Also, for how science-heavy the movie is, Disney could have been lazy and come up with a bunch of fake terms and stuff, but they decided to use actual element and chemical names, and also use concepts that, even if they aren't real, they sound real. Like, with the bike thing that Go-Go does with electromagnetic suspension. I have no idea if that is a real thing or not, but I do know about electricity, magnetism, and suspension being things, so there's a better chance at that existing than, say, a flux capacitor. Finally, I want to look at the music. This is not a musical Disney movie. There aren't any numbers in this movie, which is actually kind of refreshing considering they had made Frozen the year before, and literally that movie feels like it's just all singing. Fall Out Boy even provided their song Immortals to this movie, and it's a perfectly fitting track, truly a bop, and it's not overplayed throughout the movie either, just in the training montage and then the final credits. When asked what Disney movie has the best soundtrack, are most people gonna say, oh, Big Hero 6 for sure? No, but for what it's worth, it's a great soundtrack. Cause we're immortals, and I'm doing a hastily made low quality cover of this song cause I don't want to get in trouble for copyright infringement. I guess I wouldn't say this movie is underrated, but more so that it really faded from the public's eyes, which is truly unfortunate. I'm so happy that this movie won the Oscar for Best Animated Movie in 2014, because it was up against some pretty tough competition with How to Train Your Dragon 2, which was hailed as a masterpiece, and some pretty solid flicks from foreign countries like Ireland and Japan. But for now, that's it. This video is a little bit longer, so I'm glad it didn't go over 20 minutes. That would have been kind of weird. But yeah, comment below what movie I should do a review of next. Just know depending on what movie you say, it might take a while for me to make a movie, because if it's one I haven't seen, I'll have to watch it. But you know how it is. And then make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.